Welcome to another episode of the MEGIN Spotlight series. Today, we are really delighted to welcome Nick, Danielle, and Everett Oostveen, as well as Dr. Angel Hernandez. We were introduced to the Oostveen family by our wonderful customer partner and previous Spotlight guest, Dr. Hernandez, who's the Division Chief for Pediatric Neurology at Corewell Health, Helen De Vos Children's Hospital. We are really honored to share this unique spotlight with the Oostveens and Dr. Hernandez, highlighting caregiver and clinician insights on epilepsy. Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everett, wave. Can you wave? Good job.
Hi, Everett. So let's start with you, Nick and Danielle. Can you provide an introduction to your son Everett's epilepsy journey? How old was he when he was diagnosed, and what type of epilepsy did he have?
Yeah. Everett was born with a congenital heart defect, and that's kind of where our journey began. He had a corrective surgery at 7 months old, and there was a blood clot that formed on the central line after post-surgery. And unfortunately, over time, that blood clot broke off. It traveled to his brain, and it caused a stroke where we almost lost Everett at, again, about 7 months old. After he was in a coma for approximately 7 days, induced by the hospital, and started to recover, he developed what we weren't sure if they were seizures or if they were something GI related, but found out that they were focal seizures. And Everett, from about 7 months to his corrective surgery, was having anywhere from 3 to 7 of those focal seizures every single day. So about 7 months is when they began, and here we are now.
Thank you. So, Dr. Hernandez, thank you for joining us today. At what stage did you realize that you may need to discuss epilepsy surgery with Everett's parents? How did you, as a clinician, go about this discussion?
Sure. I first met Everett and his parents, I believe it was around 2019. At that time, he was undergoing workup for possible surgery. I was the attending physician at that time in the hospital. The workup at that time included video EEG, SPECT, PET, and he was in the hospital for about 72 hours. During that period of time, Everett had over 100 seizures. I'm sure the parents remember this very well. They were all associated with a head drop. Most of them were typically, he would drop towards the right with the left arm and left leg at times, getting involved. They were very brief, but at the same time, he was having a lot of seizures, and this was taking a toll on Everett's development and his ability to be more independent. The EEG and the semiology during the seizures at that time were not clearly lateralizing to one hemisphere, but I highly suspected the seizures were coming from the left hemisphere where his stroke was. I did discuss with parents at that time my high suspicion that the left hemisphere was the driver of his seizure onset at that time, but I couldn't be 100% sure that there was something else going on at the right hemisphere. I believe at that time I quoted them that I was 90% sure that the seizures were left hemispheric in onset and that Everett would greatly benefit from having a hemispherectomy. Understandably, because we didn't have additional supporting evidence of left hemispheric onset, it was decided to just try other medications and adjusting the current medications he was on. And that helped tremendously, although he was still having infrequent seizures. Our goal is always seizure freedom and better control of seizures. So he was on a combination of medications, but seizure control was not perfect and not ideal at that time.
So, Nick and Danielle, you've been open about how the introduction of MEG technology at the Helen De Vos Children's Hospital was key in the decision to move forward with a hemispherectomy. Can you please tell us why you felt having an MEG scan was important to Everett's pre-surgery journey?
Absolutely. The precision of the scan, as Dr. Hernandez alluded to, we spent approximately 72 hours in the hospital with Everett, having him hooked up to an EEG. And when he would have a seizure that was large enough, then they were able to do the ink scan, where they would inject colored ink, and then you could take him down and do a MRI and a CT scan to see where those seizures were coming from. However, even when that happened, and Dr. Hernandez stated it was 90%, as parents, 90% at that point wasn't good enough to potentially take away half of his brain for the rest of his life. And so that decision was, it was really difficult for Danielle and I to say no at that time, because we felt that they were coming from the left side as well, almost certain. But that MEG testing, when you see the images of your child's brain, and you can see the little stars or triangles that are on the actual image itself, and they show without a shadow of a doubt that they are all coming from the same hemisphere. And when your physician and your neurologist says, this shows us that they are certainly coming from the left hemisphere, 100% is different than 90%. And that testing gave us, it gave us the comfort knowing that when we move forward, that he was going to be seizure-free after surgery.
I think as well, to kind of piggyback off of that, I remember one of our follow-ups with Dr. Hernandez during COVID, and he told us about this new MEG testing that was coming to Helen De Vos, and that if we were willing, Everett could be one of the first pediatric patients to go through it. And after talking with him about it, in the 72 crazy hours that we spent in the hospital for that first round of testing were just, they were heartbreaking. And Everett has been through a lot of stuff in his life. He's been through a lot of surgeries. And that was probably one of the hardest times we've ever had in the hospital, was that testing. So to hear about how this new testing, we were in and out in a day, and Everett would just have to be put to sleep for 90 minutes. It definitely was something that we were like, yes, we would love to try that.
So that leads on to the next question, the experience you had compared to the 72 hours that you just experienced in the MEG scan then. That was a completely different experience for you then, I guess.
Oh, completely different. And don't get me wrong, the phase 1 testing that Everett went through, it definitely, there was a purpose behind it, and there were facts that you could gain from it. But the difference was 72 hours versus 90 minutes. Discomfort, I think Everett was 2 or 3, something like that. And then to be hooked up to an EEG where you can't really go around and play, you can't do your normal day-to-day. It was very uncomfortable for Everett, compared to 90 minutes. And then we went back, I think, a week later to talk about results.
I think also too, with the MEG testing, I can remember we got to go in the room and see the MEG machine, and Nick, and we talked to all the doctors. The one, I can't remember his name, but the one who was reading the images, he was such a nice guy. And then I can also remember Nick being able to hold Everett and read him a story as they put him to sleep. And it was really good on our hearts as parents to know that, he would wake up in 90 minutes and we'd be able to go home.
No, thank you for sharing that. That was good to hear. It's really incredible. Dr. Hernandez, in Everett's case, then, how did the data from the MEG scan influence pre-surgical decision-making for the hemispherectomy surgery?
Yes, well, you heard it from the parents. I think this is, the decision point. Having the MEG data was very helpful because it supported the hypothesis that the seizures were coming from the left hemisphere, sort of the cherry on the ice cream, supporting us moving forward with a hemispherectomy. So going to the MEG data itself, you can see that the brain on axial images, the little yellow triangles that you see where the spike and wave discharges that we were able to record on the MEG on Everett's case. And as you can see, they were primarily involving frontal and parietal lobes on the affected hemisphere. And Everett's had very frequent spike wave discharges, which made it very helpful in recording the data that we needed to move forward with the hemispherectomy.
Thank you. So back to Nick and Danielle then. How is your son following the hemispherectomy surgery, and how's he doing today at age 6?
Pretty spunky. He won't he won't stop.
He won't stop moving. Sorry.
He's kind of like a kindergartner where you try to get him, hey, can you sit still for a few minutes? And he says basically absolutely not. But he's doing it without seizures. And we would never know when they were coming on, and when his head would drop, and then when he would have a seizure, it would take it out of him. It would take the energy out of him, and it would take 30 minutes to an hour of him taking a nap to recover. And he's just so much more life in him. And
we had to do a lot of listening to Dr. Hernandez right post-surgery, because for a couple of days right after surgery, we were very scared. We didn't know if we made the right decision because Everett was not who he was before surgery. But they reassured us every single day. The team was right there walking alongside us every single day, and we made it. Couple months post-op is when he started walking again, just on his own. He worked with PT, all of that. But like Nick said, he's doing so well today. He's in kindergarten at our local public school. He loves going to school. They love having him there. He's thriving. And before surgery, I think we were in a state of, well, if he just lives with these the rest of his life, it's fine because he's still moving forward. But now we can see that they were holding him back, and to see what he's doing now is just really great.
That's wonderful to hear. I almost feel like the next question, Dr. Hernandez, is shows itself by what we've just seen with Everett live here. But the introduction of MEG at Helen De Vos Children's Hospital impacted obviously patient care and clinical outcomes. And why do you feel this is an important modality to offer patients access to? Although it's pretty clear from what we've just seen that it's incredible.
Yes, absolutely. It's been an incredible tool to help us with evaluating patients with epilepsy. I mean, the accuracy of MEG has improved our stereo EEG targets and accuracy, and has also opened up better targets and accuracy for responsive neurostimulation as well, which has also improved the efficacy of the responsive neurostimulation in our patient population, especially the pediatric and adult population that we take care of. All of this at the end has improved outcomes after surgery of our epilepsy patients, especially those like Everett with difficult to control epilepsy. For all of the above reasons and everything you've heard today, over 90% of patients being considered for epilepsy surgery will have an MEG in our center, just because of the added benefit of better accuracy. And at the end, what we want is better outcomes for our patients.
Yeah, that's true. So Nick and Danielle, we appreciate you spending time with us today, and Everett obviously as well, as an advocate for brain surgery awareness. Are there any groups or institutions that you are involved with that you'd like our audience to have the opportunity to learn more about as well?
He's right on screen with us. Dr. Hernandez and his team at Helen De Vos Children's Hospital. There's multiple brain surgeons, but the one who saved Everett's life when he had a stroke and then did Everett's hemispherectomy, Dr. Madura. You just can't say enough good things about the team at Helen De Vos. From the hospital staff to the nurses, the doctors, the collaborative effort that has been put in with Everett and bringing his mother and I as Everett's biggest advocates and listening to us. That group, Helen De Vos Children's Hospital, we're so lucky to have them as close as what they are.
Thank you. That's every city needs a Dr. Hernandez then, I guess.
Good luck.
We're going to have to.
He's ours.
He's ours. And could be yours if you come.
Thank
And you
you.
bring that
Thank you for those
everything
kind
with
words.
Yeah.
No, it's incredible. It's been an absolute honor to speak to all of you today, and we're so grateful that you spent the time with us and that you let Everett come as well. I mean, he's been good as gold. It's amazing. It's been amazing to meet him. It's been really informative for us and for our audience, and thank you again for spending time with us today and this morning. So we hope to see you soon.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Everett. Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gabriel. Have a great day.